Hello everyone, how are you going? And welcome back to TikToks only Canadians will understand, or more so just TikToks that test my knowledge of Canada.
Alright guys, so I've been driving in Australia for a few months now. I'm going to run you through some of the biggest differences I've noticed. First of all, I'm on the wrong side of the car here, and we drive on the wrong side of the road.
It's not wrong, it's just different.
It's wild. So the first thing I really notice is there's hardly any stop signs around here, and everywhere just has yield signs, which are actually give way signs. They're like marked give way on it, and they have roundabouts everywhere. They're everywhere. There's no stop signs at all, hardly at all. Second thing, speed cameras are literally everywhere. You cannot, and they move. Like, they move them around, so you have to be careful always.
They do.
So people don't really speed, not as much as Canada, where like cops will just fly by you in Canada, going like 30 over. It's crazy. And third, in Canada, we can turn right on reds, which is really great. You don't have to wait as long at lights. Where here, the equivalent would be turning left, but you can't do that. Sometimes there's like an advanced left. But yeah, slows down traffic.
Well, firstly, I would love to know what he means by these advanced lefts, because I have no idea, and I've certainly never heard of anything described as that. I mean, we do have, in some particular places, turn left at any time with care is the full kind of sign, but never advanced left. I didn't even know what you would mean by that. I mean, the only thing that both traffic lights and stop signs have going for them is the fact that I would think that they are a little bit more internationally friendly. You know, if you're going from the right to the left or the left to the right, it doesn't really matter. You just have to stop and wait to your next command. But to be fair, other than that, he was absolutely bang on with the give way signs and the roundabouts and even the speed cameras. I mean, I believe it does change a little bit state to state, but realistically, they are all included in the same kind of volume in comparison to North America, which just doesn't have, for instance, any roundabouts like he was saying. Which certainly does mean that Australia is the lucky country, because, well, even Mythbusters tested it and it was a decent percentage, if not multiplier better and more efficient having the roundabout as an intersection instead of stoplights. The only thing that I would rebuttal that with is I believe, and I'm just willing to give up the crown to Europe, because Europe just does it differently in terms of roundabouts. You know, multi-lane, mega 12 entry and exit roundabouts. So I'm surprised there aren't more car accidents in some of these places, because Australia does it well, but not perfectly. But look, overall, my hat just goes off to anyone that is willing to give it a go. I've certainly never tried it, but I just know that it confronts a lot of people, and to the point where they just don't want to try because they feel unsafe, and that is also understandable. But if you can just get over that hurdle, I reckon it's just great for your brain to go, oh wow, what do I have to deal with now?
These are interesting facts about Canadians that you probably didn't know. It recently came to my attention that everyone thinks I'm American. I actually live in Ontario, and I've been Canadian my whole entire life.
Okay.
So these are some things that Canadians do that Americans don't. Number one, the average Canadian eats over 3 boxes of Kraft dinner every single year. Katie is literally just boxed mac and cheese, and we will muck it at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Canadians have Harvey's. I literally feel so bad for you if you've never eaten Harvey's before, but it is my favorite food place ever. Burgers, poutine, wraps, so good. And it's only in Canada. If we're going to a party, if we enter someone else's house, we always take our shoes off at the door. Canadians say house, Americans say house? House? House. Canadians have elementary school, high school, post-secondary. You guys have elementary, middle school, high school, college.
Okay, everybody knows that the US school system is just completely ridiculous for anyone that doesn't live in the USA. Like, there's just so many different components and bits, and you got this and that, and the age groups are all over the place, let alone, like I've said a million times over, naming the year groups things that don't actually mean anything, like freshman. That doesn't mean anything. Senior isn't actually a senior. But look, that is certainly not the only contentious theme, because I can only imagine, even though she said we take our shoes off at the door, I know it for a fact that not every single person does that. I just think it's a higher percentage, and I do wonder, why is that a thing? Is it just because people are just carrying over their winter traditions of just not bringing all the snow into the house, so they go, okay, in summer we just won't do that either? And to be fair, that certainly does make sense, but by the same metric, if you travel far enough south in the USA, or even just anywhere in the Rockies, you're going to be dealing with dust, and you don't want to be bringing that much dust in, and so I wonder why there is that cultural difference there. But really, I must admit that the overall most confusing one must be the fact that they're saying that the average Canadian eats 3.2 boxes of Kraft dinner per year. Now look, I don't know exactly what that is, but that just doesn't sound like too much to me, if that's a particular packet. And also, why 3.2? I mean, I guess that's the average. Kraft dinner, show me what it is. Yeah, okay, KD, that certainly just doesn't look that big. I don't understand. How can it possibly be only 3.2 to the point where she's just bragging about it? If it was 32 or 132, then I go, wow, that is a little bit overkill, but only 3.2. So you're saying that you're only having it like 3 or maybe 5 times a year, depending on how big that box is. That just doesn't seem like that much to me. So honestly, considering that it is an average, I can only imagine that there aren't that many people actually having it, but the people that are having it are just inflating that number well into the moon.
I just came downstairs to see every Canadian's worst nightmare. Oh, no. Look at this. You know exactly what this means. We've got North American house hippos running around. Huh? We've got a North American house hippo infestation again. I swear I just heard one. Okay, there. See, look, they just got out of Jake's water bowl. These little hippies love swimming. Where are you? Okay, honey, we cannot be leaving out chips and raisins. You know that's their favorite snack. Look at this. Ooh. I found one of their nests made out of lint. Made out of laundry lint. This is a disaster. They're everywhere. Yeah, you can hear them in the walls. Listen. Yeah. Oh, God, there's probably 6 or 8 of them. Okay, I just saw 2 run across the floor, and they were about this size, a little bit smaller. So we can confirm North American house hippos are a little bit smaller than hungry hippos. Jake, I really need you to start scaring off these house hippos. No, no, that's not gonna help.
Well, honestly, I'm a little bit confused because he said that it's every Canadian's worst nightmare, but honestly, from reading the comments and from what I know about Canadian house hippos, that would be everyone's dream. I mean, at least if you were 7 years old or just originally when the ad was coming out, if you saw that on your kitchen bench the next day, it'd be better than Santa coming and just leaving a dusting of powder. I mean, I guess to be fair though, the ad that I did watch only referenced one house hippo, and so if you are going to be having a full infestation, 6 to 8 of them, honestly, your raisins and chips and everything else are just going to be disappearing from underneath your feet. But look, I guess he's just trying to make the entire thing appear sane, just learn a bit, because he does say anyone who's dealt with this before have any suggestions on how to get rid of them. And as we can see, the top comment does say, you don't get rid of them, sir. You gather the couch fluff and lint and you leave it as an offering of peace. And look, I know that the house hippo is generally a nice nocturnal animal that doesn't really bother you, runs away, but if you just don't offer them what they require, then I'm sure that 6 to 8 will just become a pack mentality and turn on you when you least expect it.
Excuse me. How much do you pay rent in Montreal?
1,950.
Oh, can we take a tour of your place?
Sure. So this is my entrance.
Oh no.
It's quite small, but it's cozy.
Fair enough.
And this is where I sleep.
Done.
Excuse me.
That's honestly all you need. Stuff, the kitchen arrangement, stuff, anything like that. You're just having frozen goods all year round, or at least all winter around. Look at that. 1,900 a month is, I always think it's a week, but no, it's a month, because that is how Australia does it. But I do now wonder, what is the pros or cons for doing it a week or a month? I mean, I feel as though if it's monthly, it feels like such a dump of money, whereas if it's weekly, it's just a slow bleed of $500 in this case. But no, back to the actual, I don't know if you call it a snow fort or an igloo or what it would be, because it doesn't really look like an igloo in terms of manufacturing. It just more looks like it's been dug out. But honestly, living in a garage with just a nice open plan living in there, it's no surprise that it's going to be close to $2,000 a month, especially because most people measure the height of their ceilings, but these guys can actually measure the height of their ceiling. And honestly, with it being that thick, being, I don't know, 2 feet, that is going to be incredible for sound insulation. You're not going to hit anything from your nosy upstairs neighbors. I mean, if you do have upstairs neighbors, it might be a bit of a problem because well, let's just say the structural foundation of this build wasn't the greatest.
They had Canadians' faces are cut in half.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, it's Canadians' faces have Terrence and Phillip. Every Canadian that's at some point in that show, like they go to Canada in one episode, and everyone in Canada is like that.
Why? I don't know. What's the thought process behind that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yo, bro, fix yourself.
I mean, look, he can sit there and just complain all day long, but I honestly do think that it was just a genius maneuver just to know exactly how to distinguish these people within just a very simple cartoon. I mean, and also in saying that I have no idea how they possibly would have come up with the idea. Maybe it was just a very basic sketch from the start and they just went, hang on a second, how about we just leave it like that? As even though this guy is a Mantian, so it is very easy to determine where he is from in that regard, as soon as you do go to Canada, you just need to know that they've traveled to a different country because, well, how else would you possibly know? It's not like there's a flag or an accent or food like poutine. Nah, you just have to chop people's heads in half. I mean, also, to be fair, just knowing South Park and how they treat the rest of the world, I think Canada got off pretty scot-free.
My girlfriend doesn't know milk in Canada comes in bags.
You know that in France this doesn't exist. Huh? How do you guys do that? I have no idea. It might get messy, baby.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh my god. Oh baby, what are you doing?
No. Why is this such a
Just the corner.
No, baby, what are you doing? No, baby.
I think we should take out this plastic.
Oh, it's so bad.
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
This is suction now. Pouring cup. But I can't do that too. Oh,
Come on. At the end here, you would not even be saved by a jug. That was just a complete whiff of a pour. But otherwise, it was just a complete horror show. The entire chopped off top. Like everybody knows, you just have to chop off either one or two corners, not the entire top, and especially not that low. She chopped it to the entire rim, and apparently it's more efficient to fill the jug, which I guess would make sense if that's what you're trying to do, but that's not what you're trying to do. But really, I feel as though the entire thing was just doomed from the start. I just don't understand what her thought process was, and I feel as though she was just misled, and then she just from there went down a very dark path, because I feel as though if I did not know, I would just be chopping off one end and then pouring it into the pitcher or the jug. And so look, even though I understand that this entire process is weird and Canada does it differently apparently to try and conserve more plastic, but really then I don't believe that that soft plastic can be recycled nearly as easily as a hard plastic, and so I don't know how that works. Either way, the fact is that they are definitely weird, but just don't do it like that. Just give it 3 taps, chop a corner off, and be done with it.
How to speak like a Canadian. Giver or givener, which is basically when you're just giving something your all. We don't often say Tim Hortons, we'll say Tim's or Timmy's. Out for a rip, which can mean a couple different things. It can either be like an off-road drive like snowmobiling, or it can just be hanging out with your friends. Both are out for a rip. Our $1 coin is called a loonie, and our $2 coin is called a toonie. A double-double, which is a coffee with 2 creams and 2 sugars. You don't even have to specify that it's coffee. Everyone just knows when you say double-double what it is. What a lot of people call a beanie, we call a toque. We also say washroom instead of bathroom, but sometimes we say bathroom too. A 2-4 is a case of 24 beers. It's also pronounced twofer. And a 13-ounce bottle of liquor is called a Mickey. We also do actually say out and about and a.
Well, that I did not know. I mean, I guess I knew about the A, but not the out and about part. And I've certainly just also forgotten that a twofer was talking about the amount, not the, I guess, contents of the bottle. But out of all of these, the one that I know I've never heard before, which I'm honestly surprised about, is the fact that out for a rip can also just mean out and about, especially just on a snowmobile. And that absolutely makes sense, because honestly it aligns a little bit more with what an Australian version of those words would mean. But honestly, now I'm just wondering, can you be out for a rip and out for a rip at the same time? Just out for a rip with out for a rip. Oh no. Oh, come on. Whoa. That's a... What? Well, then there was certainly a massive variety there, just going straight from Saskatchewan to Manitoba. What? I did not know that either Manitoba was that soft or it was that cold. I mean, probably both, and really that obviously did not include all the different provinces and territories, but really the fact that that is even a thing, I'm sure that is like a $10,000 puffer jacket or some ridiculous figure, whatever that is, it is not worth it. I'm sure even for a, what was it, Canadian goose, you were just going to be much warmer than whatever that thing is entailing. I mean, I'm sure by the same metrics, the people that are up fishing in those freezing Nova Scotian and all those Arctic waters and Atlantic waters even are just going to be so used to the cold and the wet. Oh, I cannot even imagine how just freezing your fingers and everything would constantly be. It's probably -20 and this guy's just in a t-shirt. But either way, I guess this entire thing just takes every strong stereotype, especially Quebec. The poor fella's got chucked in front of a bus there, but my goodness, every single province and territory just gets completely ousted here. Even Prince Edward Island, I've no idea why they're looking like that, but hey, red earth, red everything else apparently. So if you do live in one of these provinces or territories, just let me know how close this is a representation to your people, because I'm sure there's going to be quite the spectrum in every single one of these, just going more Canadian and maybe more American and then maybe more of this.